Hello, everyone, and welcome here to Epping. Nick Anastas, Steve Beals with you. It's FNL Gridiron presented by Beals Insurance. Getting set to welcome in week number 8 statewide. Just 2 weeks remaining in regular season play. And then the tournaments. To get us ready for that and a whole weekend slate worth of games, we've got Roger Brown of the New Hampshire Union Leader joining us in about 10 or 15 minutes. He's also, of course, the founder of the New Hampshire Football Report. You can read his latest stuff at nhfootballreport.com. Roger, of course, a friend of the program and one of the more knowledgeable, if not the most knowledgeable when it comes to high school football in the state of New Hampshire. So a valued guest to lead off the show at 6:15 Eastern. Bottom of the hour, we begin to preview our Friday Night Lights New Hampshire Game of the Week, which comes your way tomorrow night and features Pinkerton at Salem. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff. We're on the air at about 6:45. Guest number 2 is Blue Devils head coach Steve Abraham, making a long-awaited return to the program. We did catch up with Coach Abraham back in August at the Jamboree, but it's his first appearance in season tonight. And again, that comes your way at 6:30. Then we round out the show with Brian O'Reilly. Enough said. Longtime Pinkerton head coach, over 40 years on the sideline, and of course is also the athletic director at Pinkerton Academy as well. He'll join us fresh off the heels of a big win for his Astros, by the way, over a Massachusetts rival in Brockton. So, Roger Brown, Steve Abraham, Brian O'Reilly in that order. Does that sound good, Steve, or what?
Sounds real good to me, Nick. Nice thing about it in the hour, we get a little bit of time with these guys. So I'm ready to roll. What a week! What a great month we got coming ahead of us, too, Nick.
Yeah, we do. It's going to get very busy very quickly around here, so to speak. Let's begin the show, as we always do, with a look at the latest New Hampshire Union Leader Power Poll that breaks down the top 10 teams in the state, regardless of division. Once again, the Bedford Bulldogs are at the top of the list. The defending Division I champions are 7-0. Their latest victim was Concord. They beat up on the Crimson 46-7 at Bulldog Stadium last week. They'll test themselves out of state for the first time this season when they host Thornton Academy on Friday night. It's a 7 o'clock start. That's also a rematch from a contest a year ago. Bulldogs will feature sophomore running back Brody Helton, who is leading the state in rushing with over 1,100 yards. So one to watch tomorrow night, Bedford and Thornton Academy. Right behind the Bulldogs is Pinkerton. They are 7-0, 6-0 in state, but 7-0 overall after that 42-13 undressing of the Brockton Boxers over the weekend. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire was there. We had the call. We have the archived broadcast on our YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Of course, Friday Night Lights New Hampshire is on YouTube at FNLNH Media. That was a 28-0 halftime lead for Pinkerton. And it was a game in which their senior running back, Caden Michoud, went off, scoring all 4 of those Pinkerton touchdowns in the first half. Had a one-handed grab that was worthy of Sports Center. And again, we highly recommend you check out that game to see how good Pinkerton really is, at least through 7 weeks. So the Bulldogs, 7-0. The Astros are 7-0. Those are the top 2 spots in the Union Leader poll. At number 3 is Londonderry. They dipped slightly a couple weeks back down to 4. They're back up to 3 after an impressive 35-0 shutout win over Exeter last Friday night. That game is also up on our YouTube channel as well. Londonderry, very impressive in their first home game in nearly a month to improve to 6-1. Londonderry this weekend will take on Alvern in Hudson. That game is Friday night at 7. Portsmouth, they're still undefeated, and they come in at number 4 this week in the poll. The Clippers are 7-0. No problem on the road against Wyndham in their latest win. 34-14 was the final score there, an impressive victory to stay undefeated. They will host Merrimack tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Rounding out the top 5 is Salem. And as we mentioned, they'll play host to Pinkerton tomorrow night here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. Salem got past Central without a problem, 42 to 14 to get back on the winning track. The Blue Devils' lone loss came out of state a couple of weeks ago at Wachusett. Dover is number 6. They are 4-2-1 overall. A win over Timberlane in week 6 by a final of 42-28. And they'll face Concord on the road tomorrow night at 7. Of course, Green Wave senior quarterback Ryder Aubin has been doing his thing all season and is approaching the 1,000-yard mark through the air and may get there tomorrow night. Pelham, the first D2 team to check in, the defending Division II champions, are 6-0. They beat Milford 49-7. They finally surrendered some points after 6 straight shutouts to begin the campaign. 49-7 winners. And, of course, all eyes will be in Amherst tomorrow night as the 2 best teams in Division II square off in a rematch of last year's championship game when Pelham visits Souhegan. That's a 7 o'clock kick. That's actually in Pelham, at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Exeter, number 8. Bluehawks have lost now 3 in a row following that 35-0 defeat at Londonderry. They'll look to rebound Saturday at 1 o'clock at Memorial. That's a 1 o'clock kick from Manchester. Souhegan, we mentioned them. They're at number 9. They are 6-1 overall. The one loss, of course, was against Division I Timberlane. And, of course, a measuring stick, potentially a measuring stick game tomorrow against Pelham. And maybe a revenge game as well for Coach Boquette and company. And finally, at 10, we've got 2 teams tied at 10. Got the same record, 4-3. They're in the same conference, Division I West. That's Nashua North and Bishop Girton. The Titans, no problem with Goffstown on the road, a win 33-8 there. They'll take on Keene at home tomorrow night, 6:30. And BG, they just beat the Blackbirds on the road, 34-14, an impressive showing. They will host Goffstown Saturday at 6. Division I passing leader, quarterback Mike McDonough, will lead the Cardinals in that one. Others receiving votes, Campbell, still seemingly the favorite in Division III. They received 4 votes and were just left out of the poll, but are right there. And Plymouth as well. They've rebounded well over the last few weeks and sit in Division II with just 1 loss. So to recap, Steve, Bedford at 1, Pinkerton at 2, Londonderry 3, Portsmouth 4, Salem at 5, Dover at 6, Pelham at 7, Exeter at 8, Souhegan at 9, and Nashua North and Bishop Girton tied for the 10th spot. Your thoughts?
Well, you got a bunch top of the line here, 1 through 4, Portsmouth, Londonderry, Pinkerton, Bedford. Clearly the perceived top 4 there. It's going to be a battle to see who winds up with the top 3 to get a bye through the first round. But then you've got Salem and Dover. And Salem has not faced any of those top 4 teams yet, but boy, they're going to get their chance, and we will be there this Friday night just to have that game. That is a big game for Salem. That's that first time that they're going to be playing any one of those top 4 opponents. They've done their job. They're 6-0, and they've cleaned up everybody that they've played. Tough game with Wyndham there, gave them a hard time with Tiger Round and company, but they came out victorious in that. So you got to give Steve and Salem all the credit in the world. They're going to get their opportunity to take on the iron of the league right now. Dover beaten in that same section of those 2 teams. I feel was Salem and Dover. That would be a heck of a game in itself. But Dover has only lost to Bedford and Portsmouth Oyster River. As a result of that, they've only lost to the top 4. Well, Salem's going to get an opportunity. I'm fascinated what this game is going to entail. We saw Pinkerton against Brockton last week, Nick, and Brockton had some good players, but Pinkerton, the thing about Pinkerton, that the running attack between Morrison, Michaud, and then you've got Catno that can go right up. This guy is a wrecking ball going through it. Each one of these guys have unique attributes. Coach O'Reilly's got to be pretty pumped up about the running crew that he's got, but he's going to go against Salem as well, and they have their cast of characters. Steve's got that offense running in fine tune. I think this promises to be a terrific game. I think it's critically important that Salem gets out of the gate early at home and make Pinkerton feel like it's a long way from home. That would be, to me, their best shot. But Pinkerton is going to be a tough one to beat, Nick. Continuing down to the other teams, Exeter obviously now 4-2, fell to Londonderry. and their other loss was they haven't played Bedford yet. Who was the other team that they lost to? Portsmouth. Thank you. Portsmouth, and between those two games, again, lost to the Iron. You got to give Dover Coach Kumba, and this Auburn guy is terrific. Distributes the passing tree very, very well, and he's got good numbers with a number of receivers. And then you've got the situation with Nashua North and Bishop Girton at the end, Nick. That would, those two guys are going to be fighting hard for playoff positions. I believe they'll both make the preliminary round with some wins, with a few more wins. We'll see what happens. But Bishop Girton, how about the connection between Mike McDonough and Cody Szymanski? Mike McDonough, top of the list, has 1,378 passing yards. That's incredible. Of those passing yards, 659 to Cody Szymanski, Nick. That is an incredible dynamic duo of those guys. Any college ought to be looking at those two guys and say, hey, let's grab them both. You know what I'm saying? So Ryder Auburn comes in second at 944. Clearly, BG and Dover have a great passing attack working for them. That's to their strength. You throw every Salem, Pinkerton, Bedford with Helton leading the whole league with rushing yards. There's just a lot of high-quality players coming in as we get to the finals. It's going to sorry be so long, Nick, but I'm fascinated with it. The thing about Sauhegan on Division II and Pelham, there's nobody else. It's really about probably this. We kind of knowing weeks ahead that there's going to be a championship game, but that game is coming up as well. So we'll see. I don't know what the outcome of that will be. Pelham just seems awful strong, but you got to give Coach Boquette a ton of credit. With the Sauhegan Sabres, Nick, they're a solid football team, and I've been watching a lot of them with the season, on New Hampshire high school sports, and I watched number 7, I think, last week, and these guys are roaring again. They're playing well, so all teams, all 11 of them, deserve to be in that mix. You can argue it any way you want, but I think it's hard to argue that the top 4 teams clearly aren't, that it isn't them. Last point, saw Londonderry last week, Nick. No problem with Londonderry. 4 intense quarters of football. It was just terrific to watch them play. And Exeter, we'll see what happens. They're going to have a big game this week as well. This is really a must-win situation for them. They should be able to handle Memorial, but give Memorial credit. They won last week with a good game. So I'll leave it at that. Long enough, but this is an exciting narrow down as we get to the preliminary round. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
These last 2 weeks is where we really start to get some answers, so to speak, in terms of who's playing well, what the seeding's going to look like, what some of the matchups are going to look like. So it's an important week number 8 to kind of set the postseason table in a lot of ways. By the way, exciting players to watch, Nick, as we fold, to your point. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, for those who are stat heads like Steve and I, you want to check out some more numbers, well, check out our friend Dave Haley and Pete Terrier over there at the New Hampshire sports page, nhsportspage.com. Get more stats than you can handle, and it's good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, let's bring in our first guest, another member of the media. Of course, that's Roger Brown, friend of the program. Roger, of course, senior staff writer at the New Hampshire Union Leader and also the founder of nhfootballreport.com. Roger, good evening, my friend. How are you?
I'm excellent, gentlemen. How are you two?
Good to see you, Roger.
We're good.
Hey, before we get going, I was listening to there was a YouTube game of the broadcast of the Bedford Winnicott playoff game from 2017, and I think I heard a young Steve Beals announcing that game. Would that be correct?
A young Steve Beals. Nice. Boy, I've been taking it this week, I'll tell you. Was that? Oh, that was Mike Robinson and myself.
It's a great game.
Didn't that come down to a kick that was blocked to change? I believe it was.
They were going to kick it, and
he chose not to.
It was a penalty, and they went for 2 and got stopped. Bedford got stopped, 2-point conversion.
That's what came down to that. Terrific game, by the way. Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess we know now what Roger does in his spare time.
That's right. That's right.
Well, he's like the rest. He's as sick as the rest of them.
Roger, let's start, I suppose, with Pinkerton, because it seems like you've been an advocate of theirs really going back before they faced off with Londonderry and beat the Lancers for the first time in 5 years. We knew about that offensive line coming in. We knew about some of those returning veterans in the backfield. And it seems like Coach O'Reilly has got that entire machine humming at this point, at the right point of the season. Your thoughts on what you saw Saturday when they took apart Brockton, and really how well have they played through 7 weeks?
Well, I think except for a half against Londonderry, I think they've just been consistently good all season. Really not much to pick apart there. I'm sure Coach O'Reilly finds some things here or there to, that need improving, as all teams do. But, the first half against Londonderry, they turned the ball over, had a strong second half, came out, victorious there. But other than that, it's typical Pinkerton. I think the difference between this Pinkerton team and maybe some of the recent additions, a little bit better up front maybe on both sides of the ball, and certainly better on defense. That's the thing that stands out to me. They were much more stout in that Londonderry game than they had been against Londonderry in recent years. So that's what I'm basing that comment on primarily. They're a handful, obviously, for anybody, and probably going to be the number one seed if they can get past Salem Friday night.
Yeah, and speaking of that game, of course, we'll have coverage here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire, beginning tomorrow night at 6:45. When you look at this Salem team, you take a look at the roster, you see a lot of juniors. It seems like a strong junior class. Are they ahead of schedule, so to speak, in some ways, with, again, only one loss, no in-state losses heading into week number 8?
I think definitely they are. Steve Abraham, you got to consider him strongly for any Coach of the Year awards. I think they play 4 seniors. They had 2 wins last year, and even if they don't beat Londonderry or Pinkerton, I think 6-2 is just a terrific season for them. Based on what they had last year and how young they are, and who's to say they won't be better, right? Maybe they'll win 1 or 2 of those games too. They could, but definitely next year, if not the preseason favorite, they got to be one of them, just based on what they have coming back.
Yeah. I agree. How about in Division 2? And I know Steve's got some more questions about Salem Pinkerton. I'll turn the floor over to Steve in a moment, but I do want your thoughts up front on Pelham and Souhegan. It seems like that's been a collision course in Division 2 ever since they met in last November's championship game. What do you think happens tomorrow night in Pelham?
Well, I'm hoping for a good game. I'm going to be there to watch that one. Looking forward to seeing both teams. And it's really hard to predict, Nick, to be honest with you, what's going to happen, because neither team has been challenged in Division 2. So, we could have an even matchup. We could have one team that's a couple touchdowns better than the other. I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting a game that goes down to the wire. And, let's face it, these teams are probably going to see each other again. So whatever happens in this game, there will be corrections made and, lessons learned for sure. But I guess more to your question, it's going to be interesting to see if it's a game in the third or fourth quarter, how each team reacts. I would say at least Souhegan has had that close game against Timberlane, the Division I opponent that they played. So they've been in, faced some adversity, but you never know how a team's going to react until they're in that position. Frankly, not too worried about Pelham because they just seem to go about their business as they have for years. I think it's 36 in a row they've won. And, so take that, people who think the wing tee is not an effective offense, I guess, right? And again, we've got, not to go off track here, but we've got wing tee tomorrow night. You guys will be seeing it with 2 undefeated teams. So, you can have your 4 wide receivers and throw it all over the place if you want, but you can still use the wing tee and win. That's what that tells you. So anyways, I'm looking for a good game, and I was going over, as I think Steve knows, we have that Ukeka Player of the Year coming up. The ballots will be going out, and there's at least 4 kids, probably 4 players in that Souhegan Pelham game that deserve consideration for that. So that's another thing I'll be watching closely. 2 players on each team Friday night.
Well, while we're on Sohegan and Pelham, I think both of these teams could actually post a pretty good record in Division One. To be honest with you, these guys reload, especially Pelham, where they just continually load every year. But Boquette's got these guys running. What do you think about that? I think both of these teams could do pretty well. What do you think?
You would think so. Whenever people ask me that question, I guess my only concern is the grind of a Division I schedule is something that you got to factor in. No disrespect to anybody in Division II, but there are some quote unquote weeks off for the top teams that you don't get as many of those in Division I. It's more of a physical battle for 9 weeks, I think. But yeah, they could certainly hold their own against several Division I teams. I think Sohegan Timberlane was a 1-point game. And that was the argument last year, was how would Pelham do if they played a Division I schedule? And so Division I's not the strongest this year, so I think it would be interesting for sure.
I think I'd compare it to Trinity through the 2009, 2017. Any given day they could take on a Division I team, but with the numbers and the depth and stuff, it would begin to break down. But it kind of fits in that category. Trinity apparently going to Division II, I believe, next year, right?
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's probably where they fit best. So
yeah.
We'll know more about that here in the coming weeks, exactly what it's going to look like next year.
I want to ask your thoughts on a couple of teams before we get into Nick and I get into the whole Salem Pinkerton, let's say the top 6 in the poll. Bring up a couple of teams as far as potentially playoff capable. Let's bring up Alvern. Right now they're 4-3. They have a very good chance of coming out, but obviously they could come out 6-3. But they have a very good chance, I think, of coming out 5-4. So, does that qualify them? Do they have a potential chance to get in the preliminaries with that, Roger?
Oh yeah, I think Alvern will get in. I think one of their wins is out of state, so I think if they can get to 4 wins in state, that'll get them in, which is a huge achievement for Alvern.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them since week 1 when they really put it to Central, but. I keep doubting them and picking against them in some games, and I'm, just turn out wrong when I see the final score. So credit to them and the coaching staff there. I think no matter what happens the rest of the season this year for them, it's already been a successful year. They seem to they're peeking around the corner that they had to get around, and sounds like they're changing the culture there for sure, which is, good news.
Congratulations to Alvern, to the staff, the kids, the school. This is just great to see. It's good to have them in Division I competing. I'm going to throw a couple other teams out at you. Bishop Girton, Nashua North. What these guys have their strengths. BG has a healthy win over Keene, which is no joke. Coach Patino puts together a tough team every single week, and they come out at Keene, if I'm not mistaken, with a 34-14 win over there. Where do you see BG fitting in here, and what are your thoughts on that team as they potentially enter the playoffs?
Yeah, those 3 teams you mentioned, Steve, North, BG, and Keene, I think those are the 3 that are going to be fighting for the number 8 seed, which is important in the respect that that'll be a home game for that team in the first round. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised if 2 of those teams are meeting up in that 8-9 game. It's a pretty tight bunch between those 3. So if it's BG North, not a big deal because it'll be at Stellos either way. But, if Keene grabs that 8 spot, nobody, that's a big advantage for Keene. If they're playing at home, nobody wants to go out there. And I know, I haven't seen BG a lot. Excuse me. Clearly the passing game is terrific, right? And that's scary. Little surprised by that Pinkerton score. So that, the defense would worry me, when they step up in competition. But certainly the first. Correct. Yeah. Right. But certainly that first round game, I would think they're going to make it tough on whoever they play.
Me too. What about when we get up to the top four, Roger? Last question. Talk to us about those four. 3 teams are going to wind up with a bye. What are your thoughts of who has the best chance? The 3 teams have the best chance, in your opinion, to hold that position.
Yeah, I think the way it's going to break down, Steve, is my guess is Pinkerton will be number 1. For the longest time, I thought Portsmouth was going to finish 2, and that was based on the fact that they were assuming they beat Wyndham, which they did. However, Wyndham hasn't had the season that many thought, so it's not as valuable in the point rating as some presumed. So it's going to be Portsmouth and Bedford 2-3 in some order, and then Londonderry will be slotted at 4. Now, this is assuming that Pinkerton beats Salem. If Salem wins tomorrow night, we've got chaos, because we could easily end up with Salem, Pinkerton, and Londonderry each with 1 loss in the same conference.
How do you work
so
that out?
You see Mr. Brown, grabbing his abacus and trying to figure out the tiebreakers in that situation. A quick look at it, I think Londonderry would have a chance to win the conference if that happens.
If that happens, okay, great stuff. Boy, what a run it's going to be.
Yeah. Should be super interesting the last 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, Roger, we appreciate the time as usual. Enjoy yourself tomorrow night in Pelham, and we'll talk again at some point between now and Championship Sunday. Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Roger.
Okay, guys, I'm back to YouTube.
Thank you. That's Roger Brown, and as you can see, he eats, drinks, sleeps football for sure. Speaking of, we got another guest on the other side of the break, ready to dive headfirst in with us. That, of course, is longtime Salem head coach Steve Abraham. His guys may be considered the home underdogs tomorrow night, but I have a feeling that's just fine with Coach Abraham. We'll find out on the other side. You are watching FNL Gridiron. It's presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. How can you reach your team's fundraising goals at no risk and no cost? MG Sports offers a variety of products to make your team's fundraiser a success. Their products include tickets and discount cards to hundreds of local businesses. MG Sports now has a digital platform where athletes can raise funds in the comfort and safety of their own home. Don't waste another season. Raise more funds than ever before and become another football program in New Hampshire that sets fundraising records every season. MG Sports, fundraising made easy. Visit mgsportsfundraising.com to start raising money for your team today. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. The New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school varsity and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com.
Hey, I'm Chad, the owner of New Hampshire iPhone Repair. We're New Hampshire's most trusted and affordable repair shop for your iPhone, iPad, iPod, and even Android needs. Don't worry, we're affordable, reliable, and we back our parts with a lifetime warranty. And you know what the best part is? No, what? We can repair your phone while you wait.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Oh, I know, Mrs. Green. Here's your iPad, good as new. Bring your phone into New Hampshire iPhone Repair today.
Buy local and save big. For over 26 years, Spectrum Monthly has been providing great local offers from businesses in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, delivered to your mailbox every month. Spectrum is chock full of savings from your favorite businesses. From local restaurants and retail stores to entertainment, fitness, and home improvement services. You'll have easy access to thousands of dollars in savings, including exclusive offers for Spectrum readers. Every month, enter our readership contest for a chance at winning cash and local gift certificates. Spectrum Monthly. No one brings you better offers.
Back here at the Beals Insurance Studios in Epping, Nick Anastas. Steve Beals with you. It's FNL Gridiron presented by Beals Insurance. We're live here every Thursday night throughout the rest of the season, all the way up to Championship Sunday, every Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern, only right here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. We appreciate Roger Brown stopping in, giving us some good stuff statewide there, as he always does. You can read up on his latest at his website. And that, of course, is nhfootballreport.com. Coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes, we've got Pinkerton head coach Brian O'Reilly returning to the program after a couple of weeks. His Astros are on the road tomorrow night in Salem, and we will be there as well for Pinkerton and Salem. That's a 7 o'clock kick. Our coverage begins at 6:45 Eastern. That is our Friday Night Lights New Hampshire game of the week. And on the home sideline, our friend Steve Abraham will be calling up the plays, and we'll see if we can get him to give away some of the game plan here over the next 10 minutes. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Hi, Coach.
We appreciate you coming on. Thanks again. We asked Roger Brown whether or not he thought your team was, quote-unquote, ahead of schedule, given the fact that it's a younger team, a strong junior class, and obviously a lot of potential set to come back next year. But right now, in 2023, your team is playing as well as anybody, at least through 7 weeks. Have they met your expectations, Coach? Have they exceeded your expectations, or where are they on that scale here going into week 8?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we had a shot to compete in every game that we were in up to this point. I mean, I'm not shocked that we've answered the call for each one. I mean, we don't focus as much, honestly, on the result of the game. We're pretty consistent on every week about just worry about what you can control and get better at what we do. And I always just tell the kids, and our staff does, that if we do that, the score at the end takes care of itself. And listen, I've heard all the stuff. I know we're young, and it's great that we return everybody next year, but we still have a year to play this year. And I think this stuff's funny. I've also heard, numerous that we're not that good. And you know what? We're probably not, but we're better. We're winning. And I'll take that for not being that good. But we're gonna do our Salem thing, and we're gonna go out there and we're gonna try to instill our will, and that's it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Coach, give me a little bit more about this group that you have here. Obviously, Kevin Tedisco seems like the headline maker, the junior tailback who has run the ball very well, consistently well for your team. But obviously, it goes well beyond just him. Give us a couple of names here to watch for tomorrow night.
I mean, Tedisco is a great offensive weapon. He's a good kid. Our quarterback, I know, we're a wing T team, and everybody wants to talk about that style, but Nolan Lumley is, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to nominate him for the Chad game. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in our division. You can throw the ball. He's an unbelievable leader, and he's been part of the glue that's held our team together. And then we've got a slew of running backs. Danny Hughes, he gets more known for defense. He's our other captain. He equally with Nolan keeps us together. He plays fullback. Felix Gonzalez, him and Tedisco have mostly shared the carries in there. And then our 5'5", 135-pound other fullback, Talon Walton. He's got a couple hundred yards rushing, and you don't let his size fool you. Ask the Manchester Central kids. They said they haven't been hit that hard by somebody. And then you can add in a senior who's coming back, one of our few seniors, Alex DeVoe, started the year in there for us, so he's coming back from injury. I've got a freshman, Ko Salkovitz. He's actually been our leading rusher the last 2 weeks. He's our largest running back. And then Jordan Zanini as a sophomore. He's our number 0. He's been in there. So if you look at all those guys, there's some games, some of them 100-yard rusher, some are 60, some are 70, but we run all of them in a game. So what I like about this team more than anything is they don't complain about that. It doesn't matter who is the lead back. A couple of weeks ago, I was trying to give Tedisco the ball more. I actually yelled at him. He kept blocking, and he was giving it to Salkovitz, the freshman. So that selfless attitude, this has been just a great group of kids. The coach and the staff and I were talking like we like going to practice every day with these guys. So that's probably the thing I'm most proud of. Is we had a down year last year. It just wasn't one of our best years. And the kids didn't let that overwhelm them. They didn't keep that type of culture, and they do a lot of it on their own. So that's the thing I'm most proud of.
Steve?
Yeah, you ought to bring the guy or whoever it was that said you weren't a good team and have them come in and give a little speech on that to the guys as a motivating factor. I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my entire life. Talk about a good team. Coach, I want to go back to the Concord game. You were talking about Nolan Lumley, and I think he's underrated. I could not agree more. He's underrated in the whole quarterback pool. This young man's got almost 500 yards passing in a hard-running offense. And he also happens to be a quarterback that's one of the best running quarterbacks that I've seen off the edge in the league this year. He's terrific. He is hard to catch, and he's hard to bring down, and he's the type of guy that can wear you down, and he's got a QB after his name. This kid's a special player. I could not agree with you more, so just wanted to get that out there. But one of the things that you guys, and I feel Londonderry and Pinkerton do, not that other teams don't, I'm talking about this year in particular, there's a culture of blocking where the guys almost would rather block than even run the ball. These guys just enjoy the hits. There's a real – I see it in the Londonderry field, I see it in the Salem field, and I see it in the Pinkerton field. I am really looking forward to this blocking matchup of the fundamental style of football of blocking and tackle that these two teams bring to the table tomorrow night. Your thoughts on Pinkerton, their running game, and how it compares to yours? How do you see this matchup looking tomorrow night?
First, I love I get to coach a game, I'm going to say with Brian O'Reilly. Brian was the coach at Pinkerton when I played in high school. So, if we get mentioned in the same breath of doing what he's done over his career, then we're in good company. I mean, he does it the right way. He teaches his kids the right way, and that's a model program. And I would love to, anytime we're mentioned with them, then we're doing something right. I guess we both run the wing T offense. We do camp together, and I try to learn a lot from Brian. Maybe he takes a little bit about the way we do things, but it is about, you can have all the great running backs you want. In our type of offense, you've got to be selfless and you've got to block as a back. And it's about the guys up front too. So if you don't block, you're not going to win many games. I know our offenses are pretty boring, right? But Pinkerton's average is 45 points a game. Right. I know you love it. You should come down. If it's either Exeter, Pinkerton, or Salem, you love what we do. But it works, right? I mean, Brian's the winningest coach we've got in the state. So they're good. They remind me of what I would say. I mean, I played in the mid-early 90s, those Pinkerton great teams. So their fullback reminds me of one of those fullbacks from the day that is just a giant monster that you better lower your shoulder because he's going to run you over. And then they've got such speed with Morissette and Michaud. I don't know the kid's name, number 3, but he seems to return a kick or a punt every game, and he looks like he shot out of a cannon. And then you can't forget about their quarterback. Watch against Londonderry. He did the belly keep play, and he runs that 180 yards there. Well. So they're loaded, and they're the number 1 seed right now for a reason. I'm going to be honest. They're bigger, faster, and stronger than us. But we're going to give our best shot tomorrow night. And again, the most important thing is, that we're playing against a class act team out there that does things the right way. And I look forward to that opportunity to compete with them.
You got a lot of guys that we could talk about right now, but I want to go back. I started the original question about going back to the Concord game where you had Lumley. Was just kind of struggling there for a little while, and in the beginning of the game, and he came off the field and you unloaded on him. in a very positive but yet very, very committed way. And that kid went out the rest of that game and played his tail off and played very good situational, disciplined, hard-nosed football. The relationship, I always love to watch coach-quarterback relationship. It seems like you guys have a special relationship.
Yeah, you guys see the nice side of me. Nolan has taken a lot of hard coaching the last couple of years, especially last year, and that's where I gained so much respect for him as a football player, but as a young man. I was not easy on him last year. He's a guy who touches the ball and leads our team, and obviously not having a great year last year. Again, he took his lumps physically, and I challenged him. And he joked because probably Concord last year was the game I went all over him the most, and it was Concord this year. So he said it's something to do with Concord. But yeah, he made a mistake mentally, and his big thing was like, Coach, I know I got it, and I trust him. And I tell him every time after I raise my voice to him and challenge him, I always go over and tell him I love him because I do. There's not a guy I wouldn't take another quarterback than Nolan for us right now. He's a good human being. So that's the most important thing to me.
Yeah, he shows that attitude on the field. When you challenge him, he came through. He took it very seriously, and that's going to help him no matter what he does in life in the future, football certainly included. I want to talk about trying to defend Pinkerton with your defense. Your defense is not afraid to tackle. I thought the form tackling was very, very technically sound when we did the Wyndham game. I've seen 2 other games on film, and I thought you guys tackling for a very senior, sparse team is really, really exceptional. I want to bring up a guy that we saw in the Nick and I saw in the Brockton game that just seems to explode at times when Coach O'Reilly needs that the most, and that's Mr. Catno. He is the fullback. He is a wrecking machine. Have you thought about him this week? Is he on the radar of your defense right now? And what can you say about this young man?
Yeah, I mean, being a wing T team, Brian's he's gonna run trap and belly, their staples, and they can run their edge game off it. And listen, everybody loves to hit the edge, but the quickest way to get to the end zone is straight ahead, right? Yep. And so if we don't stop him and slow him down, they'll put up 60 points on us tomorrow night. And that kid's great. I watched him in the Wyndham game right in front of me. Run through the defender trying to tackle him. So if you're not moving your feet and you don't use proper technique, he's gonna win that battle. He's a great player, and I expect Brian to give him a fair share. But this is what's tough about Pinkerton. You guys can ask me all you want. I'll defend him. We do practice tackling every day, but what are we gonna do, right? We got up the middle with Cat now, and then those 2 guys on the edges. So they're tough.
I'll tell you. I'll before I hand it back to Nick. I share the view of Roger Brown that if you're not in the mix for a coach of the year, and I know you're not about you, but it's always, you don't have to say anything, but I'll tell you, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I think you've done a terrific job, and that really lends itself to your whole staff. I know some of those guys, and you got a fantastic group. So good luck, and I mean that sincerely tomorrow night. I love both coaches, love both teams, my style of football, and as it gets cold, rainy, dirty, slippery, all that sort of thing. But these sort of offenses and the way you guys both play, it's going to be a great, great matchup tomorrow night. What else is new with Salem and Pinkerton? It's been going on for decades. So best of luck to you tomorrow night, Stephen. Congratulations on an absolutely terrific job motivating your young men to play real football.
Thank you.
Coach, we appreciate it. As usual, you don't have the team hiding behind the camera like you did a few years ago, do you, Coach? Or they?
No, I got to work tonight. So I'm back at the office working.
Is that a chalkboard up there in the wall?
Yeah, it's a business goal board. So there's some football stuff on it. You got to blur it out. You can't see it.
Yeah,
a business goal board with a few X's and O's on it, I'm sure.
You got it,
Coach. Thank you very much. Good luck tomorrow. We appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Thank you. Coach Steve Abraham, always a great interview, frankly. We appreciate the time, the insight that he always gives us. And as you said, Steve, he's on the short list, perhaps, based on the job he's done, at least to this point, for Coach of the Year in Division I.
Real short list. Yeah, I agree, Nick. He is a special guy. I've said to both my sons, boy, That's one of the many coaches in New Hampshire. We are blessed in this state as we traverse across, Nick, and do these games to see the coaches, the quality people, the extremely good work that they do with these young men. This is a place and an opportunity for these guys to show what they got, and these coaches bring the most out of them. I mean this sincerely. And the young coaches coming up, along with the legends, it's a great group of people, and we see it every week. And our overall work against out-of-state teams this year and the success we've had, even if they didn't win. I don't know if you saw the St. John's game that Exeter played against them. The first half, they played their hearts out, and they gave every team go down to Chelmsford and have the results of that game. I mean, it just goes on. Bedford's going to go up to the academy this week. This out-of-state stuff is strengthening overall football, and it's great to see. I cannot wait for tomorrow night because seeing these two offenses and defenses go against each other is going to be great. It really is. So
absolutely.
Look for Steve
right.
Abraham, real deal.
Final guest on the other side, and that, of course, is Brian O'Reilly. Over 4 decades in the business. I think it's safe to say that he's got a game plan for his guys tomorrow night against the Blue Devils. Coach, on the other side, you're watching FNL Gridiron, presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. How can you reach your team's fundraising goals at no risk and no cost? MG Sports offers a variety of products to make your team's fundraiser a success. Their products include tickets and discount cards to hundreds of local businesses. MG Sports now has a digital platform where athletes can raise funds in the comfort and safety of their own home. Don't waste another season. Raise more funds than ever before and become another football program in New Hampshire that sets fundraising records every season. MG Sports, fundraising made easy. Visit mgsportsfundraising.com to start raising money for your team today. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school, varsity, and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com.
Hey, I'm Chad, the owner of New Hampshire iPhone Repair. We're New Hampshire's most trusted and affordable repair shop for your iPhone, iPad, iPod, and even Android needs. Don't worry, we're affordable, reliable, and we back our parts with a lifetime warranty. And you know what the best part is? No, what? We can repair your phone while you wait.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Oh, I know, Mrs. Green. Here's your iPad, good as new. Bring your phone into New Hampshire iPhone Repair today.
Buy local and save big. For over 26 years, Spectrum Monthly has been providing great local offers from businesses in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, delivered to your mailbox every month. Spectrum is chock full of savings from your favorite businesses. From local restaurants and retail stores to entertainment, fitness, and home improvement services. You'll have easy access to thousands of dollars in savings, including exclusive offers for Spectrum readers. Every month, enter our readership contest for a chance at winning cash and local gift certificates. Spectrum Monthly, no one brings you better offers.
Back here in Epping, Nick Anastas, Steve Beals with you. It's FNL Gridiron, and it's presented by Beals Insurance. We're live every Thursday, 6 o'clock, from now through Championship Sunday. If you missed any part of tonight's show, don't worry. It's archived under our YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel, FNLNH Media. It's under the videos section. And, of course, all of our broadcasts, both with Gridiron and our Game of the Week games, are up there as well. If you have not done so already, hit the subscribe button. We are live tomorrow night with our latest Friday Night Lights New Hampshire Game of the Week, Pinkerton at Salem. That is a 7 o'clock kick. Both teams are unbeaten against in-state competition. A lot on the line in terms of seeding for the upcoming Division I playoffs. We were hoping to speak with head coach Brian O'Reilly. He may or may not pop on in the next few minutes. If not, we wish Coach and Pinkerton luck. Oh, he is all set. Okay, so let's bring him in right now without any further ado. Friend of the show, longtime head coach and athletic director Brian O'Reilly joining us from his home. Coach, how are you tonight?
Very well, thank you. Little technical difficulties getting on, but I'm here.
Well, we appreciate it. We knew you would pull through. We appreciate it. Coach, how big was that win on Saturday over Brockton?
Well, from a standings point of view, nothing at all. But from a pride point of view, I think it meant a lot for us, especially the job or lack thereof we did last year defensively against them. This time around, I think I was most pleased on Saturday with our defense and the way they've come to play now.
Yeah, and talk about that group, Coach. How have you seen them progress week to week? I know we had you on a few weeks back. You were quick to praise that linebacking core in particular, but it seems like all 11 spots have won their matchup and produced more often than not. Have you seen the steady progression from week one, or has this group been that good really from the get-go?
Well, the same kids, so I guess you could say they must have been as good early on, but we saw them progress week after week. I think that John Rich, Dave Gilmore, Brian Murphy, they've done a tremendous job with that defense. I stand on the sidelines and watch it. I just deal with my part of the game now. And we don't really have holes in that defense. We've got big kids up front, which everybody wants to have. The linebackers have been doing the job. But I really think the difference between this year and last year is the secondary and the force players that we have out there. Whereas last year, like in the Brockton game, to go back to that a year ago, they were getting around the outside and heading up the sidelines. The speed that we have on offense is translating well on defense. It's very difficult to get outside of our team. We're spilling everything back inside, and our secondary people are fast. Most of them are running backs, but they also can tackle. So what's not to like about the defense we have? I really think that is our greatest improvement this year, is our defense.
Offensively, obviously, you're not too bad there either. Caden Michaud put on a show in that first half with 4 touchdowns, had the one-hand grab that got everybody excited. Talk about the way he's played in his senior season, and has he met your expectations personally?
He has. We had expectations. He was playing like that in the second half of last year until one of my play calls got his collarbone broken in the Brockton game, and we lost him for the rest of the year. But he picked up this year exactly where he was last year. In some ways, looking back on it now, that injury that he got was maybe helped us out this year, because it caused Matt Morrison, a sophomore a year ago, to get that much more playing time. And now he's just a snap-on part with Caden. People talk about how well Caden played last week, and he absolutely did, especially with those 2 catches for touchdowns. But at the end of the day, when you look at the carries of our 3 backs in the backfield, he had the 3rd most carries. I mean, we had Ryan Catnow had 13 carries, Matt Morrison had 11 carries, and Caden only had 10 carries. Only 10 carries, for 2 touchdowns and 96 yards. We're not riding, as good as Caden is, and he is really good, he's not getting the ball 20, 25 times a game. He's just one of 4 backs that we have back there, and he does it exceptionally well. But I like the other 3 also.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 584 yards, and he's running the ball that few times a game. That's some serious yard ripping after he gets through the hole. Coach, I want to talk about Ryan Catnow in that game against Brockton and the game against Londonderry. There's something about this guy with all that Michaud and Morrison do, and it's exquisite, and you could see it on the field. This young man you call upon at key times to get you the yardage you need. What can you say about this young man? He's putting together a body of work this year that is he's a beast. Talk to. What about this guy? He's terrific.
He's a fullback. He's a wing T fullback, and looking back on it now, I might have shortchanged him last year. You know, we had Cole Yanako back there, well deserved being back there. But as is happening this year, it's the way I run my program. I'm not running 5 or 7 or 9 different running backs in there unless it's running time.
Right.
Ryan is getting almost all the fullback work this year. Well, I did that with Cole for the previous 2 years, and Ryan bit his time here and there. I think coming into this year, he might have had 6 yards rushing last year. That's 6 with no numbers in front of it. And on the very first game of the year this year against Windham, after a couple of runs, I remember thinking to myself, man, maybe I should have been using him last year also. He is a hard nose, stays low to the ground. You know, early in his career here, he was always a big kid. He came to us from the Wolverines, a big kid. But like a lot of young kids, he ran standing straight up. And when you get into high school and you do that, they knock you over. Right. And we just kept on him and kept on him and kept on him. And I might have threatened him once in a while with going to the offensive line, which is not an insult to offensive linemen because that's a secret to our success. But he runs low and hard, and he really thrives on contact. He is not.
Yeah, he thrives on contact, but his ball security. Yeah, his ball security. Sorry about that, Coach. Ball security is unbelievable. You can count on him to take the hits, and he just holds on to the football. He's got great technique, and I notice you call on him at key times when moving the sticks against stiff competition really become important.
I mean, we're an outside team with our speed, and if that's all we were, then people would overload the outside. And I'm not going to tell you once in a while they don't try to do it. Right. And that's where he keeps them honest inside. You're not going to empty out the middle of your defense just to stop our speed on the outside while he's in there.
All right, 2 more quick points. One is, you've got Brockton had, regardless of what anybody says about, they're rebuilding this year, they have an explosive element to that. I thought you guys had a great game plan. One thing in specific was at key times during the game, you talked to us, we had a conversation earlier in the year about you feel good about your special teams. They really played well Saturday. And coming to the playoffs, having your special teams play like that. But one of the things that you added ingredient to that is you made a decision not to allow their best players run the football back, whether it be a punt and especially on the kick returns. Talk about that a little bit. I assume that was in your strategy.
It was. John Rich spends a lot of time with the kickoff team, but I've never understood why you'd want to give somebody's best player an opportunity to beat you. I don't understand to this day in the NFL why they punt the ball to punt returners. Right. Those are the best athletes in the world. You're allowed to kick it out of bounds with no penalty. I have no idea why they do that. I can tell you that if you've got that type of runner on the other side as a kick returner or a punt returner, we're not giving them the ball. We'll kick the punt out of bounds, and we'll certainly drive the kickoff someplace else. Why let their best players beat you? But sometimes the kick goes where the kick wants to go, and you see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and your extra point and field goal kicker, he's got a leg. Boy, I watched him pre-practice. He could hit a 30, 42-yard field goal. He's that good. I want to talk about your defensive backs. One of the things I watched in the Brockton game and watching in the games that we've done, and it has been their recovery speed, their recovery capability. If all of a sudden a receiver beats them, once that ball goes in the air, they close the gap extremely fast. And I thought the technique in that Brockton game of some of these guys knocking down passes and playing, you always want to play right on the edge of a penalty, but not commit it. And these guys were all over it. Your thoughts on these guys' development then, because this has been, I think, one of the greatest improvements since your football team last year that I've seen. It's one of the key elements. And against a Londonderry and some of the top programs you're going to play, it's going to be critically important. Your thoughts on that?
Well, 3 of the 4 of them are on our track team. And they are the 2 record holders in the relays for the sprints. Caden and Matt, we talk about. Jamie Isaac is number 3. He's as fast as they are. Jamie Isaac is the one that gave up the touchdown against Brockton last week in one of the best passes I have ever seen a kid throw. It happened right in front of me. And it was, I don't know, it was a 65-yard touchdown or something like that. But as he came back hanging his head down, I said, Jamie, you're stride for stride with the kid. you were all over him, and the quarterback just put it right where it could be. I said, you don't hang your head for anything. You had him covered like a glove. And as I said to somebody else this week, let's go after that kid. If you look at the film and you want to watch him, if you want to go after him, go ahead. Be my guest. Jimmy is very fast.
Coach Wiggy,
in some ways, maybe a little faster than the other two. I don't utilize him enough on offense, but he's certainly there in the secondary with the other two. And Cam Dillon makes up the fourth of the speed kids in the secondary. We've got some nice speed in that secondary.
He's not just fast in a line; he's got incredible hips. His ability to pivot his hips and accelerate out of a stop is incredible, and that's what they were. They just want to compliment all those guys because they did a terrific job on Saturday. Been getting better all year, and they're terrific. Coach Wiggy, I think, has a very good freshman quarterback on his hands. If he takes this guy seriously, he's got some potential, I think. Last question. We're going against Salem. Wing T against Wing T. Steve Abraham, solid coach. The history and the excitement between Salem and Pinkerton goes back decades. Talk to us about that matchup and how the guys feel and obviously not want to take these guys for granted for sure.
Oh, it's for first place. They're undefeated in New Hampshire for a reason. People can say whatever they want. I've read some other, they're this, that, and whatever else. I'm sorry, they're 6-0. I mean, you're 6-0. You're 6-0 for a reason. Abe's done a tremendous job with that. We go to camp together in the summertime. We intermix. We see each other. We've done that for several years now. We're Wing T guys. We talk to each other all the time. We trade films all the time. In the end, it's not that the secrets of the plays. He runs the plays I run plays that he runs. I've taken his counter crisscross from him. I'm sure he's grabbed one or two things from me. I like his rocket better than I like the way we run the rocker. Does a great job with that program. He's got great assistant coaches. And what's not to like about two wing teams going at each other? I mean, we know each other's plays, but that doesn't mean anything. It's still, as they say in football, in the end, it usually comes down to it's not X's and O's, it's Jimmy's and Joe's. And he's got plenty of good players. Tedesco is a really nice running back. I love that quarterback he has. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. The rain maybe put a little damper on things tomorrow night, but hey, we'll be back again in the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, and that field is real grass, so that's going to be an interesting. I hope it holds up because, but if it doesn't, Wing T can still play the game.
If it doesn't, you're going to be getting a lot of Ryan Cat now.
That's right. Hey, I'll turn it back to Nick, but best of luck, Coach. Really fun. Very, very proud to watch as a New Hampshire resident and a big Pinkerton fan. To watch you guys take on Brockton High School. I agree with you. You're not the only one. The whole place felt pride. You could feel it in there. So good luck tomorrow night. And against two teams that I love, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, but they're going to have a second shot, even though both teams have a second shot in the playoffs anyway. So
absolutely. We'll both be there in the end.
All right.
Coach, we appreciate it as usual. And good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you. See you guys there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
And again, Brian O'Reilly, a living legend at this point in his career, over 40 years on the sidelines. He's been there. He's done that. And as we just heard, Steve, it seems like the Wing T guys like to stick together when you talk about Coach Abraham and Coach O'Reilly.
Absolutely, Nick. One of the things that I look at Coach O'Reilly, he's having fun this year. He's got a smile on his face, and it's wonderful. Imagine going back all those decades, how he must feel today, and legendary career. I mean, just incredible in Division I. Had a lot of good teams, had a lot of championships, but year in, year out, they're always a team that you'd rather not play if you don't have to, and unless you're really highly competitive. But you're going to face it. But I almost wonder, being inside his head, what he's feeling. I think as you get older, I can speak that. I'm only 60, but not only. I'm 60, and I look back. And when you look back now, things that are fun become more valuable. And it just looks like in Coach O'Reilly's eyes, he's having as much fun as he's ever had, or certainly up there. And it's just great to see. And the kids are buying into it. I knew something was up when he said at the beginning of the year, he says, yeah, we're going to be okay, but with a big smile on his face. He was right. He knew he was okay. Credit to his coaching staff and his positional coaches that are teaching the basic core compartmentalized fundamentals of the game and the techniques necessary to take great athletes and make them great football players, tactical football players. You see it with them. You see it with Salem. You see it with Londonderry. You see it day in, year in, year out. And I give a lot of credit to the coaches of both these teams who are going to play. I think we're going to see a very, very good game tomorrow night between a bunch of tough football players. So
absolutely,
if you like real football, you're going to see it tomorrow night.
Yep. We'll be on the air 6:45, getting you set for that 7 o'clock kick. It's our Friday Night Lights New Hampshire Game of the Week, presented by Beals Insurance, Pinkerton and Salem. You heard it from Coach O'Reilly. First place on the line in week number 8. All right, I want to thank our guest tonight, of course, Roger Brown, senior staff writer at the New Hampshire Union Leader and the founder of the New Hampshire Football Report. We appreciate Roger. And, of course, both head coaches that we will be watching tomorrow night, Steve Abraham of Salem, Brian O'Reilly of Pinkerton. I want to thank the sponsors, of course, as well, Beals Insurance, MG Sports Fundraising, New Hampshire iPhone Repair, the New Hampshire Tomahawks, and Spectrum Monthly. We appreciate the ongoing support. For Steve Beals and our director, Ben Beals, the man behind the curtain, my name is Nick Anastas saying so long. We'll see you next week, next Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern live. This has been FNL Gridiron, presented by Beals Insurance.